Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video from Northeast Christian Apologetics. My name is Simon Williams, and today we're going to be doing another Theology Thursday. Today for Theology Thursday, we're going to be talking about God's wrath. And the verse that we're going to be using in order to jump into this topic is going to be 1 Thessalonians 1:10, which reads, "And to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, Jesus, who rescued us from the coming wrath." In 1 Thessalonians 1:10, we're seeing Paul not talk about God being angry so much as the fact that God's wrath is coming. So when Paul talks about God's wrath, he talks about it in terms of consequences. It's just a consequence of human sin. If you break God's moral law, wrath and judgment are a consequence of that. But specific to 1 Thessalonians 1:10, what Paul here is talking about is the coming wrath, just as I mentioned previously. And this is the same kind of wrath that John the Baptist talks about that we see in Matthew chapter 3, verse 7. So Paul is using the same kind of language here that John the Baptist used back then. And just as a reminder, John the Baptist was a fiery apocalyptic preacher who wasn't afraid to tell people what he thought. And that's why he got beheaded. But Paul was no slouch when it came to apocalyptic preaching himself. And that's also probably part of why he got beheaded. Anyways, the Bible teaches that the end times are going to be a pouring out of God's wrath. And that's why we wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead. The fact that there are many verses in the Bible that talk about Christ's death being in response to sin means that it's necessarily propitiatory. And that just means that you're doing something to win favor or doing something that pleases somebody whom you've offended. The atoning death of Christ isn't simply that it covers sin and cleanses us from sin, but that it also appeases God, who hates sin and is diametrically opposed to it. So, what do you think about God's wrath? Is this something that comes up in your studies regularly, or do you ever think about it? Maybe you focus more on God's love instead of these other aspects of God. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to check out our website at www.nechristianapologetics.com. Also, if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Really appreciate it. And stay tuned for next week for our next Theology Thursday. Thank you and God bless.